Hi everyone, welcome to our first of hopefully many live Samantha and Sarah's Inspired Living. So my name is Sarah Tricker, obviously, of Sarah Tricker Alchemy, and this is
Samantha Louise. And hello, everyone.
So we are excited to meet with you all today. And the reason that we've come together is because we are both co-authors in the book Inspired Living, which is launched next week. So we're both newbies at writing in a book. So we trust that the universe has brought us together for a reason. And we actually found that we had quite a lot of commonalities as people and entrepreneurs. So today we've really come together to share some of our experiences and the shadow sort of side of how we're going to help you or inspire you to move out of the shadow. So, Samantha, would you like to share with everybody a little bit about who you are, your business, and what brought you to the book?
Yes, please. I would love to. I call myself a leadership cultivator, and my tagline in and of itself comes from where I grew up and where I live today. I'm from the rural Midwest. I grew up on a farm. I live on a farm now. And throughout my life, I've just been really fascinated with different models of leadership. I grew up with a lot of really strong women in leadership in my small community, and I didn't know that that was unusual until I stepped into adulthood and started to see that women seem to be missing in leadership at many levels in our culture and society. And I started to experience for myself what women go through without proper support and development in leadership as a woman, right? Through traditional masculine created or masculine oriented leadership programs to eventually find myself like I had lost myself, right? And coming through this journey realizing that I wasn't lost at all. I had just suppressed myself. I learned how to do things that other people wanted me to do. I learned how to say what the system needed me to say in order to achieve and be successful. So I came to this book. I met Crystal, our publisher, earlier in the winter, and when I heard about the opportunity to write my story, first of all, it terrified me because it's so personal to share part of your life story and the inner world of how you think and how you perceive things. But I realized that I was meeting so many girls and women feeling the same things as me, feeling blocked, feeling like they had to do what others expected, and realizing that I was equipped with tools and strategies to move out of it, but I hadn't fully owned up to it yet. So for me, coming to the book was really the catalyst to reclaim my voice, own my power, and recognize that things have happened to me, but also I was part of writing the story. So what did I need to do to essentially say, yes, I've made mistakes and it's okay. Okay that everything hasn't been perfect. And in that same sense, what has happened to me because I haven't said no? What has happened to me because I've gone with other people's orders or stories or beliefs instead of cultivating my own at a deeper level in adulthood? So, and
Right.
then we met, which has been an absolutely beautiful exploration of coming from being educators in the public system and in different realms of what education might look like in both of our respective backgrounds, and why it brought us to becoming entrepreneurs.
And I thought that was really one of the things that stood out as most, because we literally both live in rural towns. Although you're in the States and I'm in Canada, the experience we have as women stepping into our authenticity is the same in different aspects, but also being educators. And, you know, we were discussing how, like, we're not the only educators who are leaving the system and kind of creating their own way of teaching people. So we're very similar in that way. And I think for those of you joining on Samantha's social media, a little bit about me. So I actually work with women who are in transition in their life. So I tend to work with women sort of in their 30s up to their 50s. One of the biggest themes that I see with women is they are really questioning, who am I? And for those of for those of you out there who have families and you know how much you give up to become a mother, and when Samantha was talking about how our society actually puts these things upon women, like, you know, we have to be these perfect women, we have to be perfect mothers, perfect wives, we have to also be perfect in our careers. And the movement of the woman coming back into power has kind of gone the other way, I think. And we're now expected to do too much, and we have so much pressure. And it may not even be society that's putting that pressure on, it's actually ourselves. So part of my journey is to help women find their authenticity, to find out who they are, what their life purpose is, and to step in that feminine power fully. So that's a little bit about us. I mean, why did I come to writing? I probably should share that with you as well. So those of you who follow me, you know that I write blogs, that I'm on the Brains magazine, that writing a book has been something I've always talked about. People have always hassled me, when are you doing it? So this multi-author book has actually been a way for me to kind of dip my see what the process is like. And as you know, Samantha and I have already been talking about, it's actually opened up this network of people, of like-minded people, which is sometimes it's hard when you live in rural communities, especially, to find people who think alike. So it's nice to touch other souls around the world, and it really helps me feel loved that we can actually create a global village, that we can do that in this day and age. Yeah. So that was a little bit about who we are. So what we really wanted to do today was kind of touch on the shadow side. You know, how we've both gone through these journeys of people pleasing, having no boundaries, and really learning to say no. So we came up with this little idea of doing a sort of question time and interview with each other. So I'll go first, Samantha, so you know, I might throw you in at the deep end.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've come up with three questions each, which we're gonna ask each other, so that you really get to hear a little bit about our stories. So the first question I would like to ask you there, Samantha, is what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
This is such a powerful question to me. And before we came on here, we were talking about it's so different to talk to your child self as opposed to your teen self. And I think for me, when I was 15, it's when I was really exploring arts, athletics, how to be a really good student in school, and learning how to work with coaches, learning how to work with mentors. So, in order to be the best, I was trying to take information from as many external sources as possible. And it was also a point in my life where I had the opportunity to start traveling. So again, looking outside of myself to see what more is there in the world than the physical environment that I live in and am immersed in every day. So for me to talk to my 15-year-old self, I think the single greatest words that I would share would be listen to the voice inside and start saying no so that you can express your need, so that you can express training or what you're learning, if things don't resonate with you, you don't have to do them. No is a full and complete sentence.
I love that. And I think it's really interesting that you say that, because when actually I look back onto my 15-year-old self, I was so adamant on not being the same as everybody else. And then I went into this career that made me conform so much and fit into this box. So it's just, and I reflect on what you're saying and think, damn, yeah, if I'd have lived like my 15-year-old self, I could have saved myself a lot of time trying to conform, right?
Yeah. But it's almost like if you have a dream, the conformity is almost a mandate. If you want to fulfill your dream, you have to take this one and only exclusive path.
Yeah. And we're
But
here.
that's part of why we're here, right? We realize that's not true.
So what do you think hiding from your shadow self blocked in your life?
I know that it blocked my expression. Coming into college, even into young adulthood, it was the first time in my life I realized that I always say to people, I'm a really good listener, right? But I'm a really good listener because I just have never expressed myself my whole life. My nature is more introverted, more observational, but I know that because I haven't or hadn't addressed all of this, it was part of what I needed to grow in order to serve people better in the world, but it blocked expression. And without expression, there were needs that have gone unmet, emotional needs, physical needs, spiritual needs. And so I've done so much of this work privately inside of myself, and finally just hitting a hard enough wall to realize that without expression, it doesn't matter how much work I'm doing inside. It all has to come together.
That's awesome. And I guess that's part of the path why we do what we do, right? Is
Yeah.
to fully express.
Mhm.
So the last question I've got for you, Samantha, why have you chosen to walk the path of service to inspire others? You see how that just links on perfectly to what you were saying?
Yes.
Like I'm psychic or something.
Um, wow, yeah, I think sometimes I feel like I didn't choose. Sometimes I feel like this has just always been an inherent part of my nature, is to work with others, and whatever I'm learning, there's like this responsibility to share back, right? So instead of giving me a fish so I could eat, other mentors and coaches gave me the skills and knowledge to do good in the world, or to be successful myself. So for me, then the responsibility is to keep sharing it forward and keep the link in that chain of healthy education, healthy mentoring, healthy empowerment is really the big thing. Sharing it with other people in whatever shape or form that takes. It might be just a 5-minute conversation with a stranger, or a lifelong relationship with a new friend or a student at some point. So yeah, it's fascinating, but there is always the choice, right? I could choose to turn away from this and not do it. But I think in the moments that I have felt like abandoning the calling, those are the moments I have felt the most confused. Like I was in the darkest places and like the light was really gone.
Yeah.
It felt kind of hopeless.
And I think,
Mhm.
we probably both could share with our audience today that, when you are supposed to be working in service, the further away you get from that, the more your spiritual guides are kicking you up the arse. And it's like, no, this is where you're supposed to be. And the
Yeah,
universe is not going to let it go until you step it
exactly, right? Like you were on the right path. Get back over there.
back over there. Like,
You're
what the heck do you think
wandering.
you're doing?
Focus, focus.
Right.
Yes.
So now what we're going to do is we are going to swap over. So
Yes.
now Louise is going to interview me.
Yes.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, awesome. So we talked a little, you shared a little bit about why you've come to writing in your life at this point. And like right now, what we're doing, there are so many forms of expression in the world. For this specific story, It's a brief snapshot, just a chapter from our life. Why did you choose writing for this specific story?
And I think, that's an interesting one because I have always liked writing. And when I remember being like a kid and really enjoy reading books. And then as I got into my teenage years, I hated books. And then when I went back to university, I found the love of books again. And one of the images I always have in my mind is, I am the type of person that is always searching for knowledge. Always. I love to research. I love to read. Like, I don't read novels. I don't have time for novels. There's so much information in this world. I want to consume as much of it as I can. And I think about all of those massive libraries all around the world. And you think of like the different philosophies, you think about like the catacombs and how many like books have been hidden in the Catholic like realms that not touchable now. So when I think about writing, that's what comes to me. It's like once it's in word, once it's in print, we're gonna have like no control who's gonna come across these books. But it's like once it's in print and once it's out there, like we could just touch people's souls, and it could be like years away. What happens if we become one of those like this book one of those like this is it, this is the book that you have to get to read. So I think that's really why I went into storytelling and writing books. I think it's a way to get your message out there, but it's something that feels tangible to me that can be put in a library or somebody's collection that might be passed down to other people, might be recommended.
I love that so much. And the legacy, I love how you said, who knows, maybe even beyond our lifetime, because how many
Yeah.
of us find those books, right?
And we just
This
don't
came
know,
into existence so long ago, and the
right? And this
wisdom is so profound.
100%. And this is just like the beginning of the journey. Like for each of the
Mm,
people that have come together in this book, like who knows where they're going to end up from writing this one chapter,
mhm.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in your shift, the theme of from shadow to light, what archetypes or skills did you find were the most helpful as you made that transition for yourself?
So when I think of the archetypes, as somebody very connected to the craft, so that I am a witch and I follow the pagan path, I actually think of the three archetypes. Well, it's one archetype, but three. So the goddess, the triple goddess, which is maiden, mother, and crone. So this has been profound for me in my life to tap into those archetypes. And I think as a Western woman, one of the things that has been hardest is our rites of passage have been taken away from us. So moving here to Canada, and I worked on the reserve here, so I was very connected to the Native American Blackfoot culture here, especially where I was, and listening to their rites of passage. And I read a book. Promiscuities, I think it's called, and it talks about how we have been it's been ripped away from us as Western white women. So when I connected back to those passages, and even now, it's like really understanding those archetypes, and it allows you to breathe and know that we do go through these pathways and we should embrace those pathways, that they are a passage of our life. So those three archetypes, as I say, the maiden, where we're kind of, if you think back to, we were talking about our 15-year-old selves, where we're full of dreams and hope. And then we go into mother stage, where, for women who choose to have children, we give up our whole being to become mothers. And then when we come out of that, we go into the crone. And this is our, like, excuse my language, the no fucks given stage of our life, right? Where we're doing what we want to do for ourselves now. And I think that has really helped me move out of the shadow side, because I can release the social expectations of what my life is supposed to look like as a woman, and actually connect to what our passageway is supposed to be.
I love that. And the whole idea of passageways takes us to the final question of what old beliefs, what old values, or what old paradigms did you shift out of? in order to live an inspired life? What helped you step into inspiration?
Actually, it's an interesting question because me and my husband had our children very young. So I had millennials in our house. So obviously my parents are baby boomers, going back to my culture in England. My dad was a police officer for 30 years of his life. He was in the police cadets. He signed a contract when he was 19 to be a police officer. This was your career. This is what you do. You go out and you get your house and you got your white picket fence and you put your money away for retirement. And then when you retire from your career. And so when we moved to Canada, I actually went and got my education degree to become a teacher. And really in a couple of years of teaching, I was like, ugh, this is crushing my soul. Like, it was not how I had envisioned it. It wasn't my purpose, but it was a part of my life purpose. I was supposed to do that, right? However, having millennials in my house, so my son, he was actually very instrumental in well, just do what you want. Life is for taking. You just create what you want. So the old paradigm or old beliefs that I think I shifted were, no, you've chosen your career and you have to stick at it until you retire. And you see so many people who are just so stuck where they are because they feel like they have to be. So that part of me was, no, I can create what I want in my life. And I'm not saying it's easy. The journey of entrepreneurship, of creating a business, of being of service is definitely not an easy task, but it is worthwhile. And I remember my hubby saying to me, because I carried the guilt of, like, I had this income and now my income is this. And it's, I feel guilty because I'm not contributing the way I used to the family. And I remember my husband saying to me, I would rather have you the way you are now with no money than with money and the way you were as a teacher.
Yes, isn't that beautiful? My
Right?
husband has said the exact same thing, and knowing full well that as soon as things click and the trajectory picks up, that's not even gonna be an issue,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
And then
the
we'll be
freedom.
after them.
Yeah, right? And the freedom that comes,
Yeah.
that's for me, that's what has led to inspiration and joy that I don't know if I've experienced other than being a little kid.
Right.
That sense of childlike spirit.
And when you think about, like, how you were saying of the creativity, tapping
Mhm.
into creativity, and I know, thinking about being stuck in a box, like, yeah, here's me trying to break away from everything. Like, I've got tattoos all over me. I swear all the time. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to pick a career where, you have to now confine in this tiny little box, and there's me in the system trying to break the box out. But I know when I left, and it really became clear to me, it's like, no, I create my own system. I create my own academy. I teach people what's important to me. And that creativity is just there all the time. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And I
Off,
think
but
without the creativity, I think something else that you and I have talked about is without the inspiration and creativity, you get sick
yeah.
in the various realms of life, not just physically, but spiritually, financially, et cetera, et cetera. So to come out of a place of dis-ease and unwellness, that's another sense of freedom, a weight lifted,
Yeah.
where your whole being just feels light and able to do whatever you feel called to do in the moment.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and sometimes I feel, that I'm in a position of grace because I do have, a husband who's very supportive of me,
Mm.
who financially supports me when he needs to. And some people may be, well, it's all right for you. Look at what you've got in your life. However, I've always found within our life together that the times where he's needed healing, I've been able to step up. And then when I've needed time, he's always stepped up.
Mhm.
So for those of you out there who maybe don't have a partnership, I would always say to you, You know, if you want to be inspired in the way you're living, tapping into your gift, to your authenticity. And as I say, it's not, I don't want everyone to think out there that you're all supposed to be entrepreneurs, because that is definitely
Right.
not what inspired living is about. I know people who are very career orientated and they are in their space. They love the work they do, they step into it. You know, some people are mothers and housewives, and that is their purpose in life. So I think it's important for people to know that it's not about starting your own business, it's not about becoming a millionaire. That's not what it's about. So would you have
Mhm.
any advice for Louise, for people in inspired living that way? So that's one of the things that just popped into my
Mhm.
mind chatting, right?
Yeah, well, my I guess my parting words would be very similar to yours in tapping into the seasons of your life. Because in one season, as you said, perhaps a career within a system or an organization is perfect. It's exactly what you need to learn something to be able to fulfill your purpose. So within each season, what is it that you need? And within each season, what archetype, what skill sets do you need to be functional? And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the if you're aligned in that way, then you see growth at a faster pace and success, not measured by money and
Mhm.
outside achievements, but you see success at a completely different level.
It's so
Yeah.
true. I know even on my journey as an entrepreneur, when I left teaching, at that time I was only using tarot as the tool. And my vision when I left teaching was like, I'm going to be $1 million tarot reader. Like that was it. That was my whole vision. And the process of connecting with people when you're spiritually healing
Mhm.
them, money isn't even really it's I mean, obviously we need money. I mean, you know, my mortgage company needs money to pay the bills. It doesn't accept chickens and bread, right? So you know, I do have to generate money to be able to do the work that I do.
Mhm.
However, I have over time realized that it's not about how much money I'm going to generate. It's about how many souls I can touch, how many people
Yes.
I can help transform into
Mhm.
their own unique self, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And once again, the more transformation we can do within ourselves, the more tools we are equipped to offer others.
So
So
when you
we
think
get to
about
pick and
your
choose.
right, when you think about your journey as in entrepreneurship, what is some of the things that you've transitioned through, do you think? So I know that for me, as I was saying, the money to service, that was a transition
Mhm.
for me. What things have you found through this?
Well, I think when I left, I went from education into healthcare. And then when I left healthcare, I was just bound and determined to be a consultant and from the outside go into organizations and show them how to plan differently and show them how to do workshops in different ways and trainings and instructional design in different ways because that's just what I thought was the only answer. And I've been through facilitation and consultation phases. I've done like website design and branding with people because all of a sudden then I thought, no, they have to know who they are as an organization, just like they do as a person. So it just has morphed and none of it felt totally right, but I didn't know the missing link. So that the ability to, like you said, let go of being an entrepreneur isn't about money. And when you let go of that paradigm, back to one of the questions that you answered, letting go of the paradigm about everything has to be transactional for money in order for me to survive,
Yeah.
it turned into the mindset and the paradigm of if I can be of service to someone else, it's going to happen for me in a way that I don't have any idea. And I find that every time I let go of one of those challenges, one of those old paradigms, and basically I have to do it as if I'm giving up. Like,
Right.
throw up the white flag and say, "Okay, I don't know what's next. I don't get it." Yes.
Trust.
And as soon as I do that, it's like within the next day, huge things start coming into me, and I just kind of
You're like,
sit back and open my hands. I've learned to accept it finally.
right.
So
That's all.
definitely, definitely the money thing, like you said, has also been my biggest thing.
And I think it seems that the people are looking for two things in life. They're either searching for love or they're searching for money. And maybe that's the key. Maybe money and love are linked together. And the more
Mhm.
love we give, the more money we give, the more money we receive, the more love we receive.
Yes. Always in alignment, right? Always inspired and in alignment with ourselves, with the boundaries, the priorities set up ahead of time.
Yeah. So we
Absolutely.
have just come to the end of our half hour with you. So we hope that you've enjoyed this first session. So next time, please feel free to like chat and connect with us. So Samantha, how can people get hold of you if they want to look more into you and what you do?
My website is samanthalouise.co, and most of my social handles follow that, or just get them through my website. But yeah, I think go to my website, we can connect there, and in the next couple sessions we can also start dropping some of the information about when the book is released properly, how to access it,
Awesome.
the titles of our chapters, all the good stuff.
Yeah, we kept all of that secret today, didn't we? That's awesome. So, for those of you joining on Samantha's social media, I am Sarah Trick at alchemy.com. All my social media is the same. So, we really hope that you've enjoyed today. We hope that you feel inspired and that you can maybe take some snippets out of our story and apply it to your own life so that you can actually move out of the shadow, stop people pleasing, create some boundaries, and just say no.
Thank
Awesome, my
you.
lovelies. It was for those who joined us today. Thank you. We really appreciate you. And for those of you who are watching the replay, we thank you that the universe has brought us all together for a reason.
Mhm.
So we're going to say goodbye and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye, everyone.